Clerk Garcia, can we call committee of the whole to order, please?
Being Caldwell,
Here.
Bowman,
Here.
Leja,
Here.
Faith,
Here.
Pabon,
Here.
Palashak, Bruckman, here, Carmichael,
Here.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Okay, so we have three items on the agenda for tonight, but first we're going to visit our guests from MWRD that will give us a presentation. So folks, the podium's yours.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me without the microphone fine?
Yes.
The only thing, if you would use the microphone, simply because the camera picks it up better then.
If you just put it in front of you, yeah,
Yeah,
it should pick
yeah.
you up.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us here tonight. Thank you for inviting us here tonight to talk a little bit about MWRD. My name is Kevin Fitzpatrick. I'm the Assistant Director of Engineering, and I'm joined by some colleagues here. Stormwater Engineer Pedro is behind me. Our Acting Executive Director, John Murray. And then from Commissioner Garcia's office, we have two of his aides. And from our Public Affairs, we have Belvin. So I'm going to talk a little bit about MWD's role in stormwater management, and then if you have any questions, we are happy to address them. So the Water Reclamation District was created a long time ago, back in 1889, and our initial mission was to protect Lake Michigan, the drinking water source for a growing Chicagoland area. We have grown. We now serve 882 square miles, which is most of Cook County, 129 communities whose sewer systems end up discharging to one of our 7 water reclamation plants. That's our service population. So we also now in 2004, the state legislature gave us additional responsibility for stormwater management of the entirety of Cook County. So we've been doing that for 20 plus years. We are governed by 9 members of the Board of Commissioners. They're elected for 6-year terms, and 3 of them are elected every 2 years on alternating terms. Our commissioners set policy at MWRD and provide direction. So starting out, this is Chicago a long, long time ago before it was developed. The Chicago River and the Calumet Rivers both discharged to the lake. Right about where we are, there's a continental divide, actually, that separates the Great Lakes watershed from the Mississippi River watershed. And you see the Des Plaines River to the west actually goes naturally towards the Mississippi River and the Gulf of Mexico, whereas the Calumet and Chicago rivers actually flowed out to the Great Lakes and out the St. Lawrence Seaway to the Atlantic Ocean. So when we were created, Chicago in 1820, it was just an outpost. By 50 years later, 1870, there was 1.5 million people or so, or over 1 million people right after the fire. So it grew very rapidly, and all the waste from this area was just discharged to the nearest waterway. And those waterways flowed out into the lake where they got the drinking water, and it caused a lot of waterborne diseases like typhoid and cholera. So the sanitary district was formed. The first thing we did was came in and blasted the Sanitary and Ship Canal and a couple of other canals in order to reverse the flow of the Chicago River and the Calumet River, sending them away from Lake Michigan towards the Des Plaines, ultimately the Illinois, Mississippi, and the Gulf of Mexico. So we were sending that pollution away from the lake now instead of towards the lake. Then in the early 1900s, well, in the around 1860 or so, sewer systems began to be laid. Older communities like Chicago and Berwyn have combined sewer systems. Newer communities, they started building what we call separate sewer systems, in which stormwater is in its own pipe and sanitary waste is in a totally separate pipe. But in the older communities, all that water would be in the same exact pipe. looks is domestic waste, like toilets, bathrooms, everything from a home is going into the same exact pipe that stormwater that hits the streets and goes into the gutters, or rainwater that goes into a downspout that's connected ends up in that same pipe. There was no wastewater treatment back then. It all was discharged to the waterways, and the waterways got very, very filthy and polluted. This is Bubbly Creek, actually, right around the 1900s. And Bubbly Creek, of course, is in the Bridgeport neighborhood, just east of here. So after creating the canals to send the pollution away from the city, the next order of business was creating an intercepting sewer system that would capture the waste and take it to brand new treatment plants. And we had now built 7 water reclamation plants. The largest in the world is just south of us, the Stickney Water Reclamation Plant. So those plants collectively clean 1.2 billion gallons of wastewater every day and return it to the environment in a safe manner. Here's the Stickney Water Reclamation Plant. It began operation back in 1930. So what does this have to do with the sewer system and flooding now? Okay, well, if you remember, the initial sewers were set up just to discharge to the river. MWRD came in and built our intercepting system and started taking flow to the treatment plants. But treatment plants can only accept dry weather flow plus a peaking factor, so maybe like twice dry weather flow, we'll say. When it rains, you could get 10 times that, you could get 20 times that. The treatment plant is at capacity, and the diluted waste would go out to the waterway as a combined sewer overflow. And while we're not discharging waste there every day, we still were discharging in the 50s and 60s waste about 100 days per year, almost every time it rained. There are 600 locations throughout the county where combined sewer overflows could occur. Not only did that continue to pollute the waterways, but it could also lead to flooding of people's basements. So in 1972, our Board of Commissioners adopted the Tunnel and Reservoir Plan. You might know it as the Deep Tunnel System, and that was a very one of the largest public works projects in the country at the time. 110 miles of deep tunnels were built, 150 to 350 feet below ground, and the largest ones are 33 feet in diameter. They're there to capture that combined sewage before it gets to the waterway and take it to one of our enormous reservoirs where it can be stored until after the storm, and then we can pump it back to a treatment plant and clean it, and then discharge it safely to the waterway. So our Thornton Reservoir serves the south side. That's approximately 8 billion gallons of volume. It's absolutely huge. If you drive, that's I-80, 294. You might have gone past the quarry. On the one side is our reservoir. On the other side is still an active quarry. So the McCook Reservoir is serving most of Chicago and 37 suburbs, including Berwyn. It was being built in 2 stages. Stage 1 was placed in service in 2017. It's got capacity of 3.5 billion gallons. That's located right next to I-55 and just east of LaGrange Road. Stage 2 is in the background. It's still being mined. It's going to create another 6.5 billion gallons, so ultimately we'll have 10 billion gallons of capacity. And that is needed because stage 1, still even 3.5 billion gallons, that's a whole lot of water, but it fills up a couple of times per year. So we will need that additional capacity. Okay, so now I have a couple slides on how all this works together. So when it rains again, the rainwater in the streets and maybe and downspouts from people's roofs all go to the sewer system. That is, if the downspouts go into the ground, into the sewer system. And it starts filling it up, and we're also getting wastewater from people's homes and businesses also. Then, as the rain continues, You can see our intercepting sewer starting to fill up here. And once that happens, only so much water still goes through those interceptors to the plant, but at only a certain rate, and the extra flow will then move over and start heading towards the deep tunnel, as you see here. And then once it gets down in the deep tunnel, it flows out to the reservoir, filling up the system. So then what happens when the TARP system does fill? You can see the TARP filling here. When that happens, we go back to the situation where we have combined sewer overflows out to the waterways. So that happens maybe a handful of times per year or less right now with stage 1 of the McCook Reservoir. And then the next question most people have is, well, how does it get in my basement? Or how does it flood streets? Well, even though water is still going to the tunnel system and water is still going in the interceptor system, there's more rain falling than can actually be conveyed to those two areas. So what happens when that rain continues to pound, even though there's still capacity, not enough, the actual local sewer itself sometimes, because it's built probably over 100 years ago, it doesn't have the capability to take the flow from some of the storms that we see today, which are on the order of, back in July, 7-8 inches of rain within a few hours. So at that point, more water is landing in the street, getting into the sewer system that can actually be transported by the sewer. So it starts to seek its own level and fills up the basement, as you see in the photo there. So another analogy we like to use, it's like it could be like a kitchen sink, right? When a kitchen sink is working properly, it could be fully on and it drains no problem. Sometimes when there's no issue, or sometimes you might have like a clog in the drain, right? Before you use the Drano or get out the plunger. When that happens, that could be like a clog in the sewer system also. So sewer systems do get clogged. That clog could either occur from roots or something like that, or from other things that should not be flushed. They market these things called flushable wipes. They're not really flushable. We don't recommend flushing them. They can get trapped in your sewer system. I would imagine Berwyn, many municipalities have problems with these things and have to go in there and declog their sewer systems. So, we recommend only 3 things go down into the toilet: pee, poo, and paper, or toilet paper, the 3 Ps, so that you don't have a clog either on your property, which would be horrible because then you wouldn't be able to get rid of the flow, or in the local municipality sewer further downstream. So that could be responsible for, your sink is still on, but your water is not going down as fast as it should. That could be because of a clog. But then we have a situation like in July 2023 where somebody just dumps water, pail after pail of water into that sink. And the drain is only so big, and the drain pipe is only so big, it can only take so much of that flow away that it starts to overflow. And that's what's happening in a lot of sewer systems when we have a big storm like that. The different ways people's house can flood: there's seepage, which is just when clear water's coming in through cracks in basement walls or foundations. And there's not a whole lot we could do for you there. That's something that should be handled by a professional like Permaseal or some other contractor that can go and grout that. Sometimes ponding water gets in through window wells or basement doors. And when that's the case, we recommend maybe like grading your yard so that water goes away from that window or that door, or putting up a little berm to prevent water from going down your stairs into the basement. And then, of course, the worst case scenario is basement backups. If you have a floor drain and you end up getting sewage into your basement during a storm, and that's often due to the situation I just described previously. One thing that homeowners can do to protect their own basement if they want to make that a living space is install overhead sewers is probably like the best option. It's also by far the most expensive. You could also put in a backflow preventer, which works well in preventing flow from coming back in your basement. The only issue there is during a storm itself, you don't want to put too much water down your sewers, down your drain. You don't want to flush toilets, otherwise you can flood yourself with your own water. But that's a little bit cheaper solution.
Kevin, if you don't mind me interrupting you.
Not
One
at
of
all.
the problems we have is people think that I have a push button at my desk to open the locks. People think MWRD can open the locks at any time. Could you please straighten that out, how the Army Corps of Engineers has to be involved before we can ever even open the locks and the level of the lake compared to our other level?
I definitely can. I actually have some slides to show that. Do you want me to hit that right now, or
If you
get?
don't mind. That seems to always be a big problem.
Yeah, not at all. So, I'll just skip through and jump right into that. A lot of people do ask about that. And for communities like Berwyn, you know, that the locks really aren't helping a whole lot, whether we open them or not. Often the problem, like in July, was that the water just can't get out of the neighborhoods. So if it can't get to MWRD's deep tunnel, that also means it can't get to the waterway. During normal situations, this is how the locks operate. This is sort of exaggerated. On the right-hand side is Lake Michigan. On the left hand is the Lockport Powerhouse way downstream. And in between is the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal. So the canal's taking water from our treatment plants, it's taking it from industry, it's taking it from storm drains, and it's taking some from Lake Michigan. When rain is forecast, we can lower that down quite a bit. We can't lower it all the way because we have to maintain navigation for the Army Corps. But we can lower it down to start to make room by opening the downstream gate at the Lockport Powerhouse. And we'll do that in advance of a forecasted storm. During the storm itself, the rainwater coming in from storm drains and combined sewer overflows will raise the elevation in the river itself or in the canal. And if it raises it above Lake Michigan level, that's when we can open up the locks and re-reverse the water back to the lake. But as you're going to see on this next slide, we can't do it until that happens, because if we did it too soon, we would make the situation worse just by adding all of the Lake Michigan water into the canal. So we need to wait until storm rises high enough so that at the lock at the lake itself, you can see here the river level is still below the lake level, even though the river level in other areas is higher. So it needs some sort of gradient to get there, and we need to wait until the river gets above the lake level before we can relieve it. So that's the constraint that we have. And this is a standard procedure that we have during any storm event where, there we go. You'll see now the river is risen. We can open the lock and start to relieve it. Unfortunately, if you do that too soon, it has the opposite effect. It only makes matters worse because you're only adding more water to the system. So does that answer your question about?
Yeah.
We do get that a lot. Why can't you open the locks a lot sooner?
Who controls that? Neither MWRD nor the city nor the sticking plant, they don't control that thing.
So MWRD does control it based on procedures in advance.
Where does the Army Corps of Engineers come into play?
Army Corps has some restrictions on what we can do based on maintaining navigation. Yes. Anything to add to that?
It's the hydraulic.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, we have preset procedures based on the hydraulics that have been studied for years. All right, so I'm just going to talk, I'm almost done. I've got a few slides on our stormwater management program, which I noted earlier. We started an official stormwater management program in 2004. It started out with more regional projects. And then in 2014, after those really bad storms of 2013, our Board of Commissioners realized that we need to do local projects. Water can't, it's having, a lot of communities are having a hard time getting the water out of their community and streets. And even, you know, we can't just do projects on the waterway itself, giant reservoirs. We need to help build local storage. So we started what we call phase 2 of our system. And phase 2 has now grown to 4 different programs that we have. These are partnership programs, and we've had several partnerships with Berwyn, and we look forward to several more. We encourage you to apply as often as you can, come up with projects. The 4 programs right now are Green Infrastructure Partnership Program, Stormwater Management Partnership Program, Flood-Prone Property Acquisition Program, and a Conceptual Projects. Green infrastructure is really just trying to mimic nature and soak in water where it falls back, which was how nature worked before all this development paved everywhere. So we're trying to get water through the ground and store it in the ground through permeable pavement, green alleys, rain gardens. We have a new green suburban schoolyard program where we try and store water underneath the school itself and soak it in. So this is keeping it out of the sewer system. We want to try and reduce as much flow as we can in the sewer system to save that capacity for domestic waste. Our local stormwater partnership program is more traditional stormwater projects. We've done built underground storage tanks beneath parks. We've also built storage underneath the right-of-way and public roads. So these are, again, they're cost share programs with municipalities, and every year we accept applications for new projects if you have them. Similarly, the flood-prone property acquisitions, this one also we take applications and partner with municipalities. On this program, the properties have to be within the floodplain and have repetitive losses. This is completely voluntary, though. We are not taking anybody's property that doesn't want to. But if somebody is fed up and had enough of the repetitive flooding, the municipality can apply to us for assistance, and we will help buy up those properties so long as the property is then converted to open space and it's kept in that manner into perpetuity. And then our last program, conceptual projects. This is really meant for people that know they have flooding and they know where the flooding is, but they really don't have a solution and maybe don't have the resources to come up with a solution themselves. They can ask for assistance from us, and we can do a whole study and try and figure out what alternatives might work in your community. So far, we've done over 280 partnership projects across the county, including about a handful here in Berwyn, both green infrastructure and more traditional. And we have also a couple of ongoing and coming up projects. For individuals, we like to say it takes everybody to pitch in, the municipality, the MWD, and the individual homeowners, because that's where most of the property is, where rainwater hits. So we have some things that individual homeowners can do. One is our rain barrel program. We subsidize the cost of rain barrels if anybody wants to hook them up to their downspouts. We really recommend disconnecting downspouts that are going into the ground into the sewer system. Instead, we prefer sending that to a rain barrel and then maybe running it off into the yard if there's room available. We'd much rather have puddles in people's yards than in people's basements. Some information on how to acquire rain barrels. This is all on our website also, of course. We have a green neighbor guide on our website that kind of goes over what homeowners can do to protect themselves, including that downspout disconnection, installation instructions for rain barrels, or how to build a rain garden, stuff like that. It's a very good resource. I believe we probably have some hard copies here as well. And then the Restore the Canopy program, we give away free tree saplings. Trees are a big part in fighting stormwater management. As they mature, they can soak in water, they can intercept rainwater, and they can also help with climate change. Again, more information on that is on our website. And the last thing I want to leave you with is we have watershed planning councils in which we go out to visit with several municipalities in the same area. Berwyn would be part of the Lower Des Plaines River Watershed Planning Council. So we encourage Berwyn to attend those meetings. They're for elected officials, municipal engineers, and public works staff. They're a good opportunity to discuss what you guys are doing, see what other people are doing, see what assistance MWD can offer up. So they're very good learning experiences. And the good news is there's one tomorrow. Actually, these are held quarterly. So the next one for the Lower Des Plaines watershed is actually happening tomorrow. With that, I have some contact information. I'll leave these slides with Ruth and take any questions.
So our senior engineer, Nicole Campbell, has been the forefront for us with respect to most of these partnerships. I know back in about 2010, I think it was, MWRD was not inclined to allow, we put a big tank on Proxa Park. One of the commissioners at that time helped us push it through the engineering office, and they got it done. And that kind of alleviated some of the flooding that was being around on 31st Street, or in that area where Proxa Park is. That was like the first underground tank, holding tank, that we installed here. But I know Nicole's been very active with the green alleys, and MWRD has helped us out with that tremendously. So that's our main contact from our point of view that looks into all this stuff with us, and I'm sure has had contact with your offices numerous times. But any questions?
Yes, sir.
Are we affected by any other towns that water heading towards the district south, or? I mean,
Yeah.
I know we have a couple big sewers under Oak Park, East Avenue. Does Oak Park water head through Berwyn then?
Yeah, so we have our major interceptor on East Avenue that Berwyn ties into that at several locations. But other municipalities also tie into that
Right.
same sewer. Many of them upstream of you guys, yes.
Right, so they're tying into that sewer also.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor, you mentioned green alleys. Do you know about how many of those we're doing per year, or how we're doing with that right
Well,
now?
we had a slowdown over the last couple of years, but they're starting to pick up again. I think Nicole's got another 3 or 4 in the works. The problem with a lot of our alleys is they have to be bored first to make sure that it's not clay. So they have to have the substantial under the surface that will absorb that water. And that's where a lot of people have not been able to accomplish that because of what's underneath our surface. I think Nicole's in the process of working 3 or 4 now. She got, I believe, besides MWRD, who's given us a lot of money towards that, I think Cook County's ARPA program is helping us out with that. So we'd have to check with Nicole the exact amount, but I think she's ready to proceed again with maybe 3 or 4 for this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. That, one of the several challenges we have to deal with here is that clay is not very good at sopping up water, in addition to the fact that we're very flat and highly developed, right? These are all not ideal things for stormwater management.
Anybody else, question?
The green alleys, how much water did it help absorb going from the system, coming from the rain?
Pedro, can you help with that? Can you come on up?
So when we work with communities, typically when we select the green alleys we're going to work with, it varies depending on the kind of soil that's there. But it's part of the process that the community will tell us how many gallons they anticipate retaining. So there's a DRC value associated with each one of these alleys. But it can really vary on soil. I worked on one in Cicero, I think it was like 28,000 gallons for the alley, but then there's been some others that have more. There's actually a permeable parking project that we're gonna work on with Berwyn next year. We're actually working with Nicole on it right now, and I believe that's 34,000 gallons. It's on 34th Street. I'm not exactly sure the details, but we're working on that.
Sounds right.
But it's all dependent on what the soil is around it. So it could either be high, if there's a lot of clay, it's gonna be less than that. But every gallon that these green alleys can take is that much less than it's going into the combined sewer.
And we also require people to take their downspouts out of the ground. We do require that. There's been change over the years, put them in, take them out, put them in, but now we require them to take them out, so.
I think that's great, yeah.
Maybe conversation today, but one of the primary pieces of feedback we get from the plant is some of the odor reports. Is there any best practices for residents in the immediate areas of, I mean, not only Cicero, but also along Pershing Avenue to report that?
Yeah,
Speak about
you
sort
said
of why that
odor
happens and-
issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, from our Stickney plant probably, or, yeah.
That's right.
So, we do have a hotline on our website to report odors, and we really encourage people to report them when they happen with as much information as possible so that we can address them. So, it's easiest to figure out the problem when you know exactly when it's occurring. So we really encourage you to ask people to report those on our website.
And if you lived in this area in the 60s and 70s, you see a tremendous difference than what it used to be way back when.
Yeah, we've done a lot in the last decade.
Right.
And if, you know, and I don't think we're done, so, yeah.
Thank you.
I have another question. You talked about the suburban school program too. I think you showed like the outside of a school, and there was some infrastructure opportunities there. Can you talk a little bit more about that and like what a district would need or a school would need to apply for something like that? I think we have a lot of, especially on the north end, elementary schools with, you know, concrete, blacktop kind of playgrounds, right? There could probably be more green infrastructure in those spaces. Just wanted to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, so this is something that started out as a partnership between MWD and the City of Chicago and the Chicago Public Schools. And we did this Space to Grow program, they called it, in the city. And so far they've transformed over 20 schoolyards and created, as part of the project, you end up getting like new playground equipment and outdoor facilities and outdoor learning space and gardens and a lot more green space. And it was so successful that we wanted to move it out to the suburbs. So right now we're doing a pilot project in, I believe it's in Burbank, or I'm sorry, Summit. I think it's in Summit. And we're doing our first suburban green schoolyard. And we have a couple others planned right now as part of the pilot program. But if any of the Berwyn school districts are interested, I would recommend you have them contact Pedro, and he can put you in touch with our staff that handles that project and get you in queue.
Yeah, I would love
And
to get
I don't know if
information.
Freedom worked with MWRD or they just put the tank.
Yeah.
I know they had to wait for MWRD to give approval.
Yeah.
Same with our soccer field.
Yeah.
That was the delay in the soccer field because we had
Permit.
and you guys are doing the right job, but you're very strict about making sure that we're doing the right thing. And that's what cost a little time, but it's rolling along really nice now. That's why you see the big dirt piles over in Genero Park right now, because we had to take all that dirt out. But that's all coming along now. But again, it's working with the engineers and understanding, which I don't understand, but the people that are doing it understand exactly what they're looking for. So that was really good what you guys did with us there.
Yeah, so that's one thing I didn't mention at all is our watershed management ordinance, which regulates development, redevelopment, and new development, and ensuring that those projects aren't going to exacerbate stormwater problems. The difference between some of those projects and the Stormwater Partnership Program and Green Suburban Schoolyards program are that we will actually contribute funds to the partnership programming and schoolyard program, whereas we're just in a regulatory role for private developments.
For the schoolyard projects, does that primarily focus on just having permeable surfaces, or does it also allow for like, you know, retention underneath the schoolyard using like tanks and that kind of thing?
Yes, we would try and capture as much flow and store it in tanks or underground storage. Yeah, probably tanks is what we're looking at in Summit.
But it's a partnership.
But that's part of the partnership program, and we're also maybe rerouting some of the drains on the nearby streets to that underground storage. So it helps the neighbors as well.
Perfect, thank you.
With the expansion of the reservoirs, the water reservoirs, do you have an anticipation on when that project is going to be finished? And then is that something that would lead to like direct relief in, you know, some of the most major situations for residents?
Yeah, so we're looking at stage 2, that additional 6.5 billion gallons. That's the last piece of the whole TAR puzzle. That's probably coming online in 2032 now. We had anticipated being done a little bit sooner, but unfortunately we need to wait for the hole to be mined out and the market for stone. We have an agreement with a local quarry operator, Vulcan Materials, and they sell that stone. They mine it as fast as they can sell it. The market has not been great over the last few years, so it's going to take a little bit longer, but we think by 2032 it will be open for business, and we do think it will help reduce flooding, certainly in several storms. There are still going to be other storms where the intensity is so high that it just can't, the water can't even get to that reservoir. So there will still be flooding even with it online, but it should help.
Any other questions?
No, but I just want to mention real quick that all of this was made possible through Commissioner Garcia, Marcelino Garcia's office. Carlos, who's out in the audience, he met with staff, and he's actually been working with our staff and our communications team to get us all the information so we can put everything on our website. And then also he's giving us hard copies so we can use for all of our pop-ups, and that we can also put outside in our kiosk that we have for persons who prefer paper rather than electronic. So thanks to him, he's been giving us this information. He also gave us a heads up on the school program too that was mentioned. So any updates, Carlos has been doing a wonderful job through Commissioner Garcia's office and giving those to us. So take a look at the website, take a look at the kiosk as we fill it up with all the new materials.
And thank you, Ruth, for putting this all together, too.
Of course.
All right, thank you, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Let me know when you're ready, Dave. Yeah. Okay, Dave's got a review for us for the responses for 6804 Windsor. David?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you know, through your direction, we put a request for proposals out for 6804 Windsor Avenue. That's the old Berwyn State Bank building. It's roughly a 54,000 square foot building, built roughly 1930 in an Art Deco style. Very strong structurally. It's in great shape. We took roughly 9 different developers through the property. We had comments of everything from mixed-use developments to potentially a music school, and we weren't sure what we were going to get at the end of the day, but as things closed out and proposals were due, we ended up with 2 proposals that came forward. The first one from Lion Development, it's a 40-unit building, 1,300 square foot commercial space at the northeast corner on the first floor, exactly what council had asked for, has live-work units on the first floor. However, the developer's feeling right now that there is a market building for more commercial space, so those work-live units could become commercial storefronts. And the market will dictate which way that would go if that project is selected by council. Further than that, it's got rooftop views that will be taken advantage of. It's got a bike room in the basement. It's got a co-working space in the basement for people that live there. All in all, it's really meeting everything council had asked for. It's a well-known developer. He's building a project over in Riverside right now. Construction team, if you took a look at the packets that I sent you, very well experienced, good with historic renovation and restoration, so impressive on that way. His ask was buying the property for $350,000 and asking for an incentive over time of $1.75 million. There's some other components that project would need, as well as the other proposal. Both would need a parking variation. This one would need a use variation for the work-live units on the first floor. Both need parking deck capabilities over in our garage at prevailing rates. Both were looking for building permit fee of a partial waiver, as well as the money coming from the TIF increment. As I looked at it on this first proposal, and I did put together a little spreadsheet that I want to walk you through so that you can understand just the numbers, and I'll let everybody grab it so that I can then walk you through it and you can understand what I've done here. I'm always wondering to say, how do you go ahead and make sure that the developer, if we're giving him an incentive or her an incentive, that they're actually the one that's creating it. And so what we did is, you have a beginning balance of $1.75 million. That's the incentive that the developer is asking for. Next, since he's not going to be paid, we don't have the money in hand just to hand over to the developer. We're setting a 4% interest rate that he would be, or she would be getting as a result of the incentive that we're offering because it's coming in over time. The next item you see is the annual payment amount. So what we did there is we took the annual payment of $300,000 as a baseline of what we believe the property taxes would be on that building, and we increased it by 3% annually. Next, you see what the principal reduction payment would look like, and then what the ending balance was. You notice that we start this off with being paid in 2029. So when we do property taxes, they're paid for a year in arrears. So that would be 2028 taxes. So that's saying that the developer would need to get that project up in a 2-year time period, which is realistic. And what this spreadsheet actually then represents to you, except up to year 2035, is that's all TIF increment. From 2029 to 2034, the developer, it looks like from this, and the projections look good, that just the TIF would be necessary to provide the incentive. But I'll make a little twist to this, because if you were to tell me to go ahead and continue to pursue with this developer and develop an agreement with them, I would be suggesting and saying, rather than taking the $350,000 from them up front, reduce that off to $1.75 million. You then are working with a number at $1.4 million roughly. And with that being the case, the payback would happen even quicker to the developer, and we would not have any chance of having to use regular property tax increment. So if you look at 2035, you'll see that what has happened here is you went from $347,000 that property generating to the city of Berwyn through its TIF district, to our share of what that property would be then generating roughly in 2034, payable in 2035 at $100,000. That's 28% of what the property tax bill will be. So our share, being the city of Berwyn, on a total property tax bill is roughly 28%. And so that number that was generated there would have been taking the 347,782, multiplying that by a 3%, okay, getting an increased number, and then multiplying that by 0.28, which would give you that regular tax bill amount. So what I'm simply reflecting here and walking you through on this little exercise is saying this project can generate the dollars necessary to pay for it by itself without the city having to go ahead and use other properties to leverage it to go ahead and save it. One of the things I remember very distinctly from council as I came to you and talked about this project was several of you said, let's not look at this project as a 3-year deal. Let's get the right thing, and if it takes 5 to 10 years to go ahead and do it, to break it even, so that we can save this historic structure and we can put it into good use, that's how we should look at it. So I'll remind you, those of you who had said that and believe that that's exactly what we would be doing here in this case. And while the other proposal was nice, it lacks the financial commitments and guarantees that the first development can do. Second, it doesn't have the quality of a project team behind it. Thirdly, they were asking for $2.5 million, of which they would have given $500,000 back to the city for the property. So they were at $2 million, and the other property is at about $1.4 million. So I think the trade-offs, when you look at it, it's a stronger proposal with Lion Development. And my recommendation to council would be saying, let's go ahead and pursue a development agreement with Lion Development to come back to you. But let me answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
Can you tell us what the project was for the second option? Can you tell us like what
Oh,
they were
sure.
hoping to develop?
Yeah, I had sent
Or
both.
just like to share it out?
Okay, sure, for the public. It was, again, roughly a 30, one second. Roughly a 31-unit structure. They had more retail uses with some letters of intent that they thought they could bring to the property for retail use. They showed parking on the first floor of the building, which we've sort of looked at pretty hard on seeing if that could actually be done structurally. We don't think so. They felt that their product that they would be bringing for building materials would be coming from China. We felt that the tariff situation that would be still existing would probably make that impractical. The pro forma numbers really were not clear on how they were going to go ahead and generate it. So when again, looking at the strength of the two proposals, Lion Development certainly surpassed the other.
Questions? Alderman, you had a question?
Yeah, so we purchased this property for how much?
We bought the property for $350,000.
Okay, so they're asking for what we paid for it, and then they're asking for this incentive that you say that it's not, I mean, you say it's not gonna cost us, but it is gonna cost us. So, I mean, yes, developing this property is important, and I understand that, and it's gonna be one more addition to the life of, the Depot District. That's a lot of money. I mean, it's hard for me to wrap please explain this a little bit better to me, because 1.75 that's a lot of,
Yeah,
that's a lot of tax dollars.
Yeah, it is a lot, but this property is self-creating it. Without this property being developed, these dollars would not be created. So I think you understand that point.
But you'd never told them exactly what the cost of the project will be.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a $9 million project. It's roughly a little less than 25% of incentive being asked for. This is not out of the realm of possibilities. The room rate or the square foot rate that Berwyn is able to get on a property is not the same as other communities. If you were, for example, in Wheaton, they're getting $38 per square foot for rental. Here, we're lucky right now getting $25 per square foot. The cost to do construction doesn't make the match work for an investment point of view. When I was working with a developer to look at the Stanley properties as an example, they came up with a 3-story walk-up project, no elevator, and they were looking for a $9 million project and wanted us to go ahead and contribute over $2 million to help make that project work. I told them I could never come before council and give that kind of recommendation on a new product that's being built. This is a product that when you look at what has to be done to save the property, there are some significant costs that are within the proposal that show you the demolition action that has to occur, the asbestos, the lead removal, the repairs of the elevator units to make them serviceable. All things, new windows within the property, all these things that you're trying to create the historic appeal of the property are more expensive, but we're also trying to save the structure. And once this property comes fully on the tax rolls, all of the governmental units are going to go ahead and benefit by this. If we do nothing with this property, okay, we will not see anything happen on it. There'll be no new taxes generated on it. The city will have some continued maintenance on this property over time until we can find another developer. Both of these developers that came forward were both looking for an incentive within the same sort of range. So it's not surprising to me, quite honestly, that there was a TIF increment that was going to be necessary here. Moreover, I think some of you on council, when you saw this, and we saw this property, said, hey, it's probably going to have to happen, and it's not going to be a 3 to 5 year deal to make it happen. And what we're looking at here could be about a 6-year deal to go ahead and pay back, where the developer is creating all of that increment himself by saving this structure. Was that helpful, Alderman?
Yeah, yes and no, because that's still a big bite. A lot of money.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. Do these figures assume that it's fully leased and all the space is being utilized at any given time?
Well, since this is property tax based, all that has to have is the certificate of occupancies for the units. They don't have to be in, they'll be taxed.
Okay.
The property tax would be generated.
Okay.
If we were talking about financing it, then we'd probably be looking at somewhere between a 75 and a 90% occupancy rate in order to make the numbers work on a project, and if we were wearing that hat as loaning the money.
Okay.
Dave, going back to the 25% incentive, approximate 25% incentive, do you have any perspective, any other benchmarks for other redevelopments of this kind or very similar in other towns or cities?
Well,
from a
again,
developer
it
standpoint?
really depends on what the rent rates can occur within the community. We're seeing $25 per square foot. We have not seen any new construction in the community since, well, the old Berwyn Hotel downtown, and that was a special project with IDA funding. Had that not gotten IDA funding, that project would not have been able to save that structure. And that one received more than 25%, not of our money, but of state money. If you took the old Century Station, that would have been the next project most recently built, going back to about 2008. That was a failed condominium project that then went back as an apartment project. That was recently sold, but the rack rate there is looking at about $25 a square foot. So it's trying to say, hey, what's competitive that they're actually going to be able to get? They're taking a very reasonable or a well-placed risk of saying, hey, we don't think we're going to be able to push the market significantly above $25 a square foot, but we're comfortable going ahead and making this project to move it along.
Thank you.
Is there any future development for, like, and I brought this up at the last time that you were here about, you know, they want special use of the garage but once again, for any development that's gonna be in that area, we need parking, you
Well, it
know.
wouldn't be special use, they'd have to buy passes.
Okay, so bypass, but are we focusing, are we seeing the future? Do we see like, hey, I'm gonna, you know, Berwyn has to, or developer has to build a garage, a mixed-use garage building that we're gonna build? I mean,
Here's what we're kind of looking at. Right now, McNeil's parking deck is insufficient engineering-wise, so they had to shut it down. That's why you see all the parking on the Byline Bank property, because Loyola now owns that. So Loyola's having other people park there. They're also getting 100 passes from us, paying for it, for our parking deck, because they don't have room to park. In speaking to the CEO of Loyola, the new CEO, he says in about a year to 2 years, probably more like 2 years, they anticipate building another parking deck on that Byline Bank property, which has plenty of property, which would open up the spaces that we have, that, because this'll take about 2 years for this type of project also. So we should have sufficient room in the parking deck for those passes.
And they're gonna be paying the prevailing rate for what parking costs. Now, when we talked about the Stanley property, and I know I'm jumping, we looked at that and said, anybody that's doing a project over there is going to have to meet all of the parking requirements. And so there are two differences here. You've got the Berwyn State Bank building going back to 1930 in the community, and whatever goes on the Stanley property is going to be, you know, a new structure that would be held to a different standard.
So I understand the incentive, right, to kind of attract development and to make sure that it is something that allows for the bids that we receive to be of high quality. You know, looking at the Lion bid, clearly they did their homework and put a lot of work into it, and it was very well done. I personally don't find the live work on the first floor idea appealing, and the reason for that is because what's really being demanded by the community is some way of activating that ground level space to have more public facing amenities, and the floor plans that we see in this proposal is having bedrooms against the windows. And so, you know, what I would hate to have happen is for all that frontage to then have shades drawn and be blocked off, and to not be something that really activates the depot, which I think is something that people really want. So that gives me pause, right? If we're going to give a lot of money toward a project, I want to make sure that it's something that's going to benefit the entire community, because that is a very public facing space, and I think that we need to make sure that this is something that serves the wider community, not just, you know, the individuals who are living. I guess along those lines, with that proposal, one of the items that was discussed as like the criteria was to look into affordable housing. It seems like all of the units in the Lion proposal are market rate. Was affordable housing ever evaluated, discussed, looked at? Is that a possibility?
Well, they can certainly accept Section 8 notes, and that would be up to, you know, somebody making application to them with that. And that could be your affordable housing, but they weren't designating or dedicating any particular number of spaces for that sort of thing. And going back, you know, to your issue of the work-live units on the first floor, they're looking at it as a developer and saying, we've got to go ahead and make sure that we have something that can fill that space. Clearly, they would prefer to go ahead and have commercial on the first floor as well, but the work-live units gives an opportunity for artisans and others to go ahead and have that sort of collaborative space that I think we're looking for in the Depot District and in our community, because we are very arts heavy here and growing even more so as the years pass.
Yeah, it's just hard for me to know what that'll what that would look like in a way that would be successful, because based on the floor plans, it looks like you would have to go in through kind of a main entrance, and that would lead a hallway to these various units.
And we can certainly work on any sort of floor plan with them to tweak anything that's of concern that council has. I know the mayor had expressed some reservations as well that he wanted addressed as it relates to work-live units and what that sort of thing would be. I understand that we don't want to lose the opportunity for storefront space, but we want to make sure that it's marketable at the same time.
I know both developers, so I'm not sticking my 2 cents in here. It's gonna be up to you guys to decide what to do. We did talk about the work space, shared space, and my idea would be that that would not be a bedroom up front. It would be like the artisan area. But I'd much prefer to have full commercial on the first level. That's always been my hope on that.
Well, it seems like this developer has a lot of experience doing those kinds of developments, you know, and so I guess I'm curious if they are willing to kind of adjust their plans to.
Yeah.
to
I
us.
think that's something that we would rely on Dave to do some negotiation with respect to it, if in fact that's who you pick.
I think you did say they were open to more commercial if it's the market.
If the market can bear it, that's what they would prefer to do as well.
That's what we would prefer, yeah.
You know, and we do have from the other proposal, we do know that there's some letter of intent of some businesses that would like that sort of location. Certainly, there's nothing wrong with another developer knocking on their door and saying, well, we control the property. If you're interested, we'd love to go ahead and do something, and we can find out how real those LOIs actually are.
Any other questions?
In regard to that second proposal, you said they were asking for like $2.5 million in TIP funding, is that right? Something
Correct.
like that? I don't think I saw that anywhere in that report. Is there like an extended report or something?
No, in fact, when I looked at it, I saw no number myself, so
Okay.
I placed an email
Got
to
it.
them, so I would
Okay.
have it in writing, and I said, I'm not saying you ask for anything, what are you asking for? And they came back and said, well, we want $2.5 million. I said, okay, that's helpful,
Okay, got it.
and I'm happy to show any of you that want to see that email. I can show you after we take a break.
Okay, thank you.
Before we like move forward with anything, is there any way to go back to the first or to the preferred recommended developer and ask if there could be a design shared with us that is fully commercial instead of the
There's no
workplace?
official vote on
Okay,
this.
okay.
It's only on the committee of the whole.
Okay, okay.
So if you give Dave what you want him to go back and try to negotiate with, sure, that's still
Yeah.
open. Sure.
Well, then, let me toss my 2 cents in. I'd like to see that 1.75 dropped, as, try to get a little bit lower, and then obviously with this commercial, with everybody talking here, it would like to, maybe I'm getting too close to this mic. If you could possibly have the commercial, really push for that. That's a really great corner. And for us to lose anything like that, we're really trying to make a mark here, and just say that's, you know, I mean, in my opinion, it's a must. And you'll almost like, just like saying, well, there's a bald-headed mean guy that doesn't want to give you that much money, so you got to come up with a different number. You know, sorry.
No, this is what it's for.
I'm bald too.
Yeah, well, I have a lot less hair.
I guess you're meaner than I am.
Anybody else? All right, Dave, you've got your marching orders on that one, so let's see what we can do. But I'm feeling the consensus is more to deal with the Lion developer to try and see what we can do better. Is that everybody's consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right, Dave.
Then I'll move to the Stanley property. This, I think, will be a little bit easier. We received one proposal, and that was from Youth Crossroads. They were interested in simply the Comcast building. They were looking at a project that would cost roughly $2.2 million and create a space that would be for Youth Crossroads itself. It wouldn't be housing, it would be offices to serve the community and our youth. Very noble cause. Their proposal is asking for $250,000 from the city, finding a loan for $500,000. They have some investment funds of $500,000. They have a DCEO grant of $250,000, and they would look to fundraise somewhere about $750,000. Again, it's always hard to go ahead and say, what are you really getting? They said they would give us $100,000 for the building. The 3 buildings in total that we got there, the middle building, what we call the Allied building, we paid roughly $525,000 for that property. The other 2 buildings on each side of it, we paid roughly about $85,000 in legal fees over time, and a lot of staff sweat and equity into getting that property into the city's hands. So, you know, say that we're into it, at least from a cash basis, of somewhere about $650,000 for the 3 properties. That's 2 acres of land. While I really like Youth Crossroads and everything that they do, we're not making any more land in Berwyn. This would be property I would be recommending that we hold on to right now. And as somebody comes forward with a solid development plan that would be paying property taxes and potentially sales taxes as well, that we work with them hand in hand to make a project work. I don't think, because we only have one proposal, that we should accept it. I think we should wait and see what the market provides over time.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you give me the total for the third property?
Third property, the one I was just speaking of, was a $2.2 million project. They were seeking $250,000 in TIF funds, and they'd pay us $100,000 for the property, so it's functionally a $150,000 TIF gift from the city to them as part of their project.
Dave, do you, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a sort of perception from Youth Crossroads, because they're a great organization, that they're wanting effectively just more space and, you know, potentially a developed property that might go in there in a couple of years could fulfill that gap for them in their existing space along Stanley? Or do they want to get into the property development and own that property and do what they want in that particular corridor?
They want the entire building, and if you take a look at their project, it shows you the breakout space that they'd like to do. They'd like to have a clothing closet, a food bank there, I want to say 10 counseling rooms, a living room for the kids as part of the greater space. So their vision is keeping what they have and expanding their footprint even more.
Okay, thank you.
Is it possible to help Youth Crossroads find? Possible that you can help Youth Crossroads find a different property, that, you know, there's plenty of nonprofits that.
There's been some discussion from members of Youth Crossroads about a property that adjoins their Stanley property now.
Okay.
Whether or not that's still available, I don't know, but I know that there was previous discussion regarding that.
Okay.
So
I mean,
we'd have to check into
I
that.
mean, I know there's like other nonprofits, like a church that might, you know, that has, you know, the.
Youth
the right wing
Crossroads is
next
a great
door.
organization.
Yeah.
So if there is other available properties that adjoins what they have, then we can look into that. But I don't know if that's still available. I'd have to go back to who we talked to find out.
Dave, how many developers did you walk through these properties with?
With the Stanley property?
Yeah.
I can count, I would say roughly 6. And I spent a lot of time with one that was looking at new construction. And again, I just could not make the numbers work with new construction and stomach that kind of 25% incentive on a stick-built structure that's walk-up. I mean, it's nothing special, and we don't need to beg somebody to build something in our community right now. We have folks that are willing to develop. We have single-family homes that are getting torn down and redeveloped and getting somewhat we'll call gentrification. And we're seeing our Hispanic community who are staying in the community and buying these gentrified properties. So it's not creating a turnover in any regard that way, but getting new rental property right now, the way costs are, it's just not affordable at the market rate that where the developers are able to get.
And so it just seemed like cost was the thing that was prohibiting these developers from moving forward on it. No, like, nothing that we were, you know, forcing on the RFP or anything like that.
No, it's just, I mean, again, I'm using Wheaton as the example. They're getting $38 per square foot.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting 25. It's a whole different market.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's location, but I think we have a great location, and I think we just have to wait the time to get the right project for that property. I mean, we can tear those buildings down and flatten it and keep it clean and be ready down the road for a project to come along, or we can save some of the buildings and continue to reach out to, you know, maybe a brewery or an entertainment use to try to go ahead and bring them in.
And right now, the real estate market is really slowing down coming up to the holidays, so we probably would have to wait till come springtime to see some real interest, because it is slowing down. But I think Dave's idea of knocking the properties down, I don't know about the Comcast building, that would be, you know, we'd have to talk about that, but get rid of the rest of the properties and keep it as an open space right now might be our best bet. But that's your guys, if that's what you guys think is best, that's what we'll try. If somebody comes along and makes an offer, he'll bring it forward, obviously. But at this stage, there's just nothing.
I mean, sir, I'm not involved in real estate, so I don't know how do you guys put this out to developers? I mean, how do you guys lobby or go out there and say, ta-da, this is what we have, 2 acres of land right next to the train tracks between 2 train stops? I mean, how do you guys present this to?
I have a list of about 40 developers that I have contacts with. I'm a member of Lambda Alpha International, which is the Chicagoland, those in the real estate profession, whether engineers or government people, et cetera. So I reached out into that network. We took an ad out in Crane's magazine promoting these. So we had visibility out there in the marketplace.
I mean, I'm not going to use any of the towns or cities' names that kind of redevelop stuff. So, I mean, but there's been other developments that have gone up, and so I just want to make sure that, I mean, I know you're doing your job, but I just didn't know how you're doing it, and I just don't know how it's put out there. So
Well, he's got a long reach. So the Berwyn Development Corporation is recognized pretty much throughout the Chicagoland area, so people watch different things that they put out because it's a unique entity among not only the suburbs but also in the Chicagoland area, period. So the reach is long. I just don't know if the timing's right now.
So, you know, I was also having questions about just kind of, okay, you know, one bid, you know, what does that mean? Do you feel like, are you saying essentially this is kind of a waiting game? We put it back out at a later point and do another round, or do we need to sweeten the pot in some way, or try to work with a broker or something along those lines?
I think we knocked on some doors. I think, you know, we're all of the same mindset of what would be good there. So we go ahead and knock on those doors and go to somebody like Buckle Down Brewery and say, hey, wait, we know you're looking out there again in the marketplace. Come back again and look at us. We think we've got a good piece of property that can work well for you. And I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some hard work, but us searching for exactly what we want and holding off for that.
I'd love to see that, you know, to have the kind of pursuit of the kinds of businesses that, you know, we'd want to see go in that space, because I know that that's like a really valuable spot right there.
The parking lot alone is valuable over there.
To that point, actually, so we have existing structures right now. Let's say there is a waiting period right now to spring. We have, I mean, a ton of traffic going in and out of the city. Is there any sort of banners or some type of more overt
You will be seeing something going more overt when you give me a blessing right now of saying, let's move on.
Okay? That's the consensus. I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was
would be
blessing him.
Oh, okay.
That's Father Mulcahy over here who does that.
Do you think it would be more marketable if the Allied and the Fox were taken down, or? I mean, those aren't gonna be used, right?
You know, they can be. I mean, the Allied is, of the 3 buildings,
The Allied's good, but the rest of them, I don't know.
Okay.
it was built for warehouse storage, for moving, as a moving company. So it does have this high loft ceiling. So there's real potential there. I think the Fox should go.
Okay.
That's in really bad shape. The other building, the old Comcast building, it's got some water damage in there and mold, that we probably should clean that up no matter what we do. Because when it goes to the dump, the pit meter's gonna go off and we may have to send it to an environmental, special dump as a result. So it may be something we want to address sooner.
So is the demoing of those buildings, that would be just for like staging essentially? Just to let people envision their whatever they want to do with the space better?
Yep.
Okay.
2 acres is a lot of land.
2 acres is a lot of land in Berwyn, that's for sure, and it does come with extra opportunities, being more than 1.5 acres by state statute, which means it could become another TIF by itself, just those 3 properties, which then gives the community more opportunities of working with a developer to get whatever you want.
Okay, so the consensus is we'll hold off and see what Dave can, if he can garner some more interest in the property there on Stanley.
Yes.
Come back with that, okay? All right, I have nothing else for committee of the whole, so if I can have a motion to,
Second.
motion by Plotchek, seconded by Pabon, all those in favor?
Aye.
See you back at 8 o'clock.
I gave you magazines, our newest edition coming out in the week, and if anybody else wants a Spanish copy, they're ready as well.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I said, have fun.
ordinance that wasn't in the packet. Clerk Garcia, could we call the council meeting to order, please?
Good evening. Caldwell,
Here?
Bowman,
Here.
Leisha,
Here.
Faith,
Here.
Pabon,
Here.
Palashak, Bruckman,
Here.
Carmichael.
Here.
8 ayes, Mayor.
We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could please keep in our thoughts and prayers the family of Manny Guerrero, cousin to my administrative assistant, Virginia Pacheco, and all the men and women we have on the street tonight. Thank you. If anybody wishes to address the open forum, please step forward to the podium, please. State your name and address. Is that on, sir?
Check, okay. Hi there, my name is John Dunleavy. I'm at 3744 Clinton Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the Berwyn Tree Canopy Initiative. We want to express our strong support for the proposed tree board ordinance. On the agenda, that's F5. A reconstituted and functioning tree board is something that we've been looking into going back to 2022 as a way to help ensure that the urban forestry management plan, which the City Council adopted that year, is being pushed forward. Tree board is needed now to help Berwyn's urban forest at a time when a combination of unique circumstances have reduced our urban forest and will continue to place stresses on it for the foreseeable future. The tree board will help the city to best manage and keep what we have now and offer plans to improve our tree canopy citywide while educating residents to the many benefits that trees offer to all of the residents of Berwyn. A healthy urban forest improves air quality and helps reduce flooding. Trees strengthen property values, support public safety, and help make our community cooler in the summer, our homes more energy efficient in the winter. Trees enhance the beauty of our city, and trees make Berwyn a better place to live or visit for everyone. This is the culmination of a lot of work and research by the Berwyn Tree Canopy Initiative, discussions with community members, positive and productive conversations with every one of the current members of City Council, also some previous members of City Council. Special thanks to Alderman Pabon, who has been engaged with us throughout this process, and also thanks for setting up our meeting with the mayor. Thank you to everyone for your serious consideration of the tree board ordinance tonight. And thank you, Mayor Lavero, for your leadership on this, for taking the time to meet, along with John Marchand and Nick Peterson, with members of our group and hearing our concerns, and thank you especially for bringing this to City Council tonight. We look forward to seeing this ordinance pass and for the tree board to be seated and begin its important work. Thank you.
You should also thank Philip and Zach Taylor because they made it very good. We had a great conversation, I think, Phil, so it was a good coming together with that.
And I do have copies.
Thank you.
Hi, Tim Swanson from the 3rd Ward. I wanted to discuss a topic from last City Council meeting and bring to light some misstatements and inaccuracies that were the basis of voting decisions related to flock safety cameras. I bring this up because I feel that Mayor Lavarro was given bad information, set the record straight, and hope that these inaccuracies might be addressed. In the last meeting, there was, with strong conviction, pushback on the fact that flock safety Illinois data had been accessed inappropriately. Some of the evidence behind that pushback was that flock safety's sharing Illinois data would violate its contractual agreement with Berwyn and the state of Illinois. I do wish that we lived in a world where it was impossible to violate a contractual agreement, and I applaud the optimism of the council members that relied on that optimistic worldview to make the argument that it was impossible that flock data would be accessed incorrectly because of this powerful contract. It is with a heavy heart that I share this set of documents with the council. I can share these. You each take a pass. This set of documents contains Flock's own blog post where they admit to the misuse of Illinois' flock data. Within the first document, you will find that Flock readily admits that Texas officials were able to use Illinois camera data. Luckily, further in that document, to make sure no one breaks the contract again, Flock has implemented a rigorous program of making sure other agencies say they won't access Flock's data inappropriately again. However, I feel that this is simply more of an overly optimistic. The second document in the packet is an article from Media. This article details how federal agencies are also using flock data, and their searches are explicitly related to immigration enforcement. So not only is Illinois flock data being accessed from outside the state, flock data is also being used for immigration enforcement. Last council meeting's pushback against ending Berwyn's contract with Flock essentially boiled down to the first, Flock won't do that, even when Flock said that they did. And number two, that Flock is helpful in solving and preventing crime. Out of respect for the council and printer paper, I did not print out the number of crimes reported to be prevented or solved by Flock data, according to BPD. We have no evidence that Flock prevents or helps solve crimes, but we do have evidence that our Flock data is used in ways we didn't agree to. I know sometimes we want replacements before we get rid of something. However, with Flock, I would liken this to milk. When you find your milk is spoiled, you don't keep drinking it. You buy more, you just stop. In regard to Flock safety in Berwyn, Mayor Lavarro deserves less in his direction, and this meeting deserves the council to vote on ending the Flock contract again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Just kind of tagging onto that, a similar sentiment. I don't know if you guys are aware, I was driving to go work out today and saw someone get detained just down the street. Children saw this. They're terrified. There's a school right by there. They're terrified. I think we're all aware that actions that are being taken right now are not legal by Customs and Border Patrol, but we're also very aware that I think the U.S. Supreme Court has been making decisions which in the future will be akin to Korematsu. Decisions that the Supreme Court will later have to walk back in shame. And if the Supreme Court decides, hey, you know, you guys just need to turn all over your flock data, if we haven't disabled or ended the contract before then, we're going to have to. And yeah, it's a really terrifying time. There's drones overhead at night. We see them. It's scary. We see helicopters. It's just an incredibly terrifying time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, hello. My name is Nomar Bello, and I'm a part of Morton West CLA Club. Our club is working with the City of Berwyn to share Know Your Rights flyers to students and families. As students, we want to make sure this information is reached to everyone. So the City of Berwyn provided bilingual flyers. The flyers share important information about the city's welcoming ordinance, residents' rights during an ICE encounter, and how families can make a safety plan. With the guidance of school administrators and the mayor's office, we are seeing how communication and collaboration can strengthen our community. Distributing these flyers isn't just about sharing information. It's about building trust, awareness, and unity. It means a lot to us to know that our city and school leaders believe in students' voices and are willing to work with us to make Berwyn more safe and more inclusive. On behalf of the students, I want to thank the City of Berwyn and Morton West. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Victor Magano. I'm here just in a simple matter to try to ask if the zoning enforcement for single-family homes, which is Chapter 1246 of the city's ordinances, would be enforced, as they're not being enforced, and it's affecting other people. I had an address of 3228 South Kyler, which has been inspected multiple times, has received multiple violations. This is the third time I'm asking for the reports on what has happened about that, and nothing has been done to this day. It's been 5 years now, and this presents a hazard to the children living there, and also gives a platform for people to be able to do things that legal rental is necessary for it to do.
Could you repeat the address so the clerk can write it down so I can look into that, the address?
The homes that are in the R1 district, which are single-family
Yeah,
homes.
but you gave us a specific home, you said.
1246, chapter 1246 of the ordinance code.
No, I thought you gave an address of one of the homes.
3228 South Kyler.
Okay.
And it's affecting a lot of different things, also as myself personally as a single father. And it's been years now, and I'm just hoping that something might be done sometime.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Luz Chavez. First off, I went to both entrances, and they were both locked, even though it's a city council night. So I don't know who's responsible for that. This is not the first time. We've had, like 3 or 4 people knocking on one side of the door, or one of us have had to run to the other, but tonight they were both locked, and the lights are off back there. So that's one way of suppressing free speech, right? You're kicking out your residents. So just someone needs to be on top of that, because like I said, it's not the first time, and it's absolutely ridiculous that residents cannot get into a building they help pay for. And then second, I do appreciate this executive order. Finally, you're using that power. I do appreciate it, but like with all the other resolutions and ordinances y'all have passed, they mean nothing if you don't have a plan for enforcement. They're just little checklists that you could say, I did this, but without enforcement and a plan for enforcement that's communicated, that legislation means nothing. And I think that that enforcement part worries me, because yes, you had a student come up and speak, and I'm very happy that students, organized a protest. Students are looking for ways to force District 201 to keep them safe. District 201 is still not on the ball, and it worries me about accountability, because you still have not held Officer Gordon responsible or accountable for threatening and disrespecting adults that were trying to pass out the same information everybody else is trying to pass out. So how is he going to be held accountable? And if you all can't hold one person accountable, how are you all going to enforce these laws that you're passing? Again, people deserve more than lip service. They deserve more than pieces of paper that mean nothing. The community is scared. I'm sure I was late, unfortunately, because the door was locked. But I really, you all know what happened on 16th and Euclid today, where a U.S. citizen was detained for observing ICE. She was not doing anything illegal. It's not illegal to drive in the same direction as ICE. The residents and people in Berwyn need more protection. And you can pass laws all day long. Like I said, you need an enforcement plan. You need to communicate that. You need to make sure BPD is on board and ready to stand up to Border Patrol and ICE that violate those ordinances you all are passing. And a lot of those BPD, a lot of them are Trumpers. So I would love to know if they're really going to stand up and follow then the laws that you all are passing. So get BPD on board, get some accountability. Don't just stop at, nodding your head yes to an ordinance tonight.
Hey, Stephanie Nance. I'm in the 7th Ward. I hadn't really planned to speak tonight, honestly. Had a long-ass day. I think a lot of us have. Saw what happened today. Excuse my language. It's been a long day. Partly, I want to make sure that my alder knows how I view this and can represent me and as one of her constituents, that I think we need to get rid of the flock safety cameras. I know you guys we've given evidence before today. I know you've been given more evidence today of the violations that are happening with them and the fear it is causing in your community. I don't know if you guys have seen someone detained. I don't know if your children have, but the children of Berwyn have. The people of Berwyn have. I know our police, they protect and serve. That is their purpose. We're asking the police to protect and serve the community. Protect them by taking away the ability for this data to be used against them. That is how they can serve us right now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Grażyna Grześnikowska. I'm from 3rd Ward. I would like to ask if there is a possibility to post signs in public spaces with Know Your Rights and the helpline phone number.
We have signs. The printer made
In
a
a
note.
park, I
No,
don't
hold
see
on.
any.
We just got them.
I live by the park.
Go ahead.
I really ask you to post those signs everywhere, on bus stops, parks, by the library, on the corners, just like you post your election signs. Because when there is bad situation, people don't know what to do. My neighbors who are naturalized American citizens, they are terrified, just like me. When we panic, we don't know what number is in my phone, how to find it, who I'm supposed to call. I know we didn't supposed to call police department because it's not, when they kidnap someone, federal agents don't commit crimes, yes, according to our government. But you should send letters to people what to do, who they supposed to call. And another thing which is happening now a lot in Chicago and Cicero, I didn't see any note informing people what to do when you are in situation and you have a contact with pepper spray or tear gas. I never had a situation like this in my life. I saw post people from Oak Park who wrote, I never seen something like this. I didn't know what to do. Our city should send letters to people and tell them what to do when this happens. Because we are not prepared. We are not. My dog is not prepared. People, their children, they don't know what to do. And because you are the city, you represent our city, when we get the letters from you, we will trust you, yes? If they found this online, I don't know if this is right information, maybe not. We should get those information from you in our mail and on our streets. We really need this right now. We need help. You know, I'm naturalized citizen. My accent sounds like I wasn't born here, but my advantage is I'm white. So I don't have to be so scared like all my neighbors who were born in Mexico. We need help. We want the signs everywhere. We need information. We need to know what we really supposed to do. Because there is thousands of information online on Facebook. You know, elderly people doesn't go on Facebook. Teenager kids won't go on your city hall website. We need to see this everywhere right now. Because this is really tragic situation. This situation in our country looked like 1981 in Poland when I was a little kid. It's exactly this. My family from Europe see this on TV, now on the news. And they say, look, this looks like 1981. We are terrified. We need your help. We ask for information from you, not from Facebook, please. We want the signs everywhere so people feel they know, oh, I can find the information and now I know who I'm supposed to call. If they witness something, they don't scramble and ask thousands neighbors and friends, what should I do? They see, oh, okay, I will call this number, it's there. Right now they don't know. They don't know who they're supposed to trust because we can't trust our government anymore. And now you are our government here. We need you to help us. This is very important for me, for my neighbors, for everyone. It doesn't matter if we have a citizenship or no. Also, you're supposed to do something to protect those kids. What's happened, their families? What's happened when they kidnap parents? What are we gonna do with those children? Is there a plan? Is there a plan? How we, because they become orphans. I volunteer in orphanage in Poland, and I know how it looks. You know, most of those kids were there because their parents were alcoholics or they were in prison. But our situation, if this keep happening, we're gonna end up with kids like this. Do we have a plan? The most important thing for us is to protect those people, their parents, because those kids will end up like homeless. You need to come up with some plan. And then it doesn't matter if the person is legal or illegal, alien or not alien, this word is actually awful, but it doesn't matter anymore. We need to, those children were born here, they are American citizens, and they need help. Their parents need help. Someone has to come with some plan. I don't have a kids, I don't have to worry. But there are so many children who are terrified. You need to support them. We, as a community, need to figure out how we're gonna do it. What, you're gonna just look at the kids on the streets, you know, mom and dad? I am terrified. I want you to start to really think about this, because this is not gonna end today or tomorrow. This may end in a few years. I really want you to think about this. And we need to start to really worry about those children. I don't have any, but I work with children for many years. I babysit many kids in this country. I volunteer with children in orphanage in Poland. And I really care about the children, even if they are not mine. We should treat them like they are ours.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Based on a suggestion from Alderman Caldwell, we had had signs designed that he and I both approved. Right now, we only have a part of them here. Unfortunately, they're only in English. We're waiting for the ones that are in Spanish also. So we will be getting those out on the property. Claudia has intentions of getting it out with the internship, but once we get the bilingual ones, English on one side, Spanish on the other, I'd ask that each one of you grab some of those signs and put them on all our public properties, like we said, schools, libraries, things of that nature, okay? But we do have the English ones only. The printer only did both sides English, so he's got to give us the ones in one English, one Spanish, okay? Those are in the hall back by the communications department. Any alderman for open forum?
I have. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I want to take a moment tonight to speak about process, the process by which we, as a city council, do the people's work. Over the past several weeks, I've experienced repeated procedural delays at a matter I brought forward through the same channels any alderman is entitled to use. I submitted a draft ordinance, supporting documentation, and now committee meeting minutes in tonight's packet, all in good faith and within the timeline established for agenda submissions. Despite that, I've been told, first, that my request came too late, that there were only so many hours on council night, and most recently, that committee minutes must be formally accepted before an ordinance can be discussed at the committee of the whole. Yet we've all seen items advance without those same conditions. And beyond the procedural inconsistencies, I've seen a lack of basic respect towards myself as an elected official, and by extension, toward the residents I represent. I've been referred to by some staff as a freshman alderman, as if that somehow makes my questions or ideas less valid. But this is not a game to me. I've submitted legitimate requests that go unanswered for weeks. I received sarcasm instead of solutions, and in one instance, I was told to flat out that I'll need to FOIA it going forward. I have great respect for every department and the work they do for the city, but respect must go both ways. When any alderman, new or tenured, and there's many new here, is treated dismissively or shut out of the process, it isn't just the elected official being disrespected, it's the residents who entrusted us to represent them. The residents of Berwyn didn't elect any of us here to wait quietly while ideas get buried in red tape. They elected us to work, to deliberate, and to govern transparently. That includes bringing forward ordinances, discussing them in the open, and letting the full council, not one office, decide when they're ready for debate. And I'd be remiss not to acknowledge the moment we're in tonight. While we sit here debating process, there are families in Berwyn being torn apart by ICE operations. Families who live on our blocks, whose children go to our schools, and who look to this city for safety and fairness. The way we conduct ourselves here, whether we value transparency, accountability, and dignity, directly impacts whether those families feel represented or left behind. I remain ready and willing to have a professional conversation with anyone about proposed ordinances or any other matter before us, but conversation cannot be a substitute for procedure. Every alderman here deserves the same opportunity to place legislation before their colleagues. That's not conflict, that's representative government working as intended. Thank you.
And I've invited you to have discussion with me numerous times so we could bring something to the council in some type of working together forum, and you've refused, number one. Number two, when I put an ordinance on the floor, the same thing happened to the ordinance that I put on the floor. Council did not accept it, it had to go back, and we had to discuss it, just like we're gonna do with your ordinance at the next committee of the whole. So
I
respect
appreciate
goes
that,
both
Mayor.
ways, Alderman.
I'm glad it's being scheduled.
Respect
My
goes
intent is
both ways, Alderman.
raising this tonight isn't to
Item
go around the
C1,
process,
please.
it's to make sure it goes on record, and I'm glad it has.
Item C1, please.
Item C1 are the approval of the city council meeting minutes of October 14, 2025.
It'll be my motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes of October 14th as presented.
Second?
Motion by Fate, seconded by Caldwell to accept the council minutes of October 14th as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item F1, please.
Item F1 is the executive order that reads, Berwyn Ice-Free Zones prohibiting the use of Berwyn City property, Berwyn Police Department, Berwyn Fire Department, and other Berwyn-owned property for federal immigration enforcement operations and prohibiting city employees from providing logistical and administrative support for such operations.
Mayor, before we vote on this, can you just talk about how this is different than what we voted on the last council?
What we did last time was more like a proclamation or resolution. This is an executive order from the office. Not quite an ordinance, but an executive order saying that they cannot use our city property, period. It's got a little more enforcement. How we would enforce it is going to be rather difficult if they try, but we now have something on the books that says our police department cannot be used, our fire department, or no city property. I could not dictate to the schools, because they have their own school boards. I could not dictate to the parks, except the parks that we own. So that's what this is basically doing.
Okay, sounds good.
The executive order is also like the mayor said, at a later point. How it's going to be done will be a different part of it, but we are working tirelessly to make sure that we are watching the community's needs and trying to do the paperwork process for when that enforcement does come ready for it.
I move that we concur with Mayor Lovero's executive order reaffirming Berwyn's commitment to a welcoming city and ensuring city property, personnel, and resources are not used solely to serve and protect and are only used to serve and protect our community. Affix the necessary signatures and place it on its way to passage.
Second. Motion by Leja, seconded by Polakchek to concur with the executive order, fix the necessary signatures, and place that its way to passage. All those in favor, I'll call the roll.
Aye.
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 Faith?
Aye.
Pabon?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carmichael?
I just had one more question on procedure here before I vote. Do we actually have to vote on this to like approve it? I've always seen executive orders be like, you know, issued by a mayor or a president, and then it just goes into effect.
It's not necessarily 100% necessary to vote on it, but I've decided that it's probably best if the council all joins in and votes on it.
Okay, sounds good. Aye.
Eight ayes.
Oh. 8 ayes, Mayor.
Executive orders passed. Item F2, please.
Item F2 is a proposal calling on Governor of Illinois to prohibit the use of public property in federal immigration operations.
I move that we concur with Mayor Lovero's proposal to the Governor of Illinois to prohibit the use of public property in federal immigration operations.
Second. Motion by Leja, seconded by Polacek to send the proposal to the Governor of Illinois. And again, credit where credit's due. This is Clerk Garcia's idea to have this done, so we can send it to the Governor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item F3, please.
Item F3 is going Know Your Rights and Protect Protegiendo Berwyn Outreach Campaign Update, and this is informational.
I move that we accept Mayor Lovero's communication on the student initiative as informational.
Second. Motion by Leja, seconded by Polacek to consider the communications informational. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item F4, please.
Item F4 is the appointment of City Council representatives and composition of the pool feasibility and design exploration ad hoc committee.
I move that we accept Mayor Lovero's appointment of City Council representatives to the Pool Feasibility and Design Exploration Ad Hoc Committee.
Second. Motion by Leja, second by Polacek to concur with the appointments of the ad hoc committee for the pool feasibility and design. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item F5, please.
Item F5 is amending Chapter 284 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Berwyn, Illinois, to clarify the duties of the City Board.
I move to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 284 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Berwyn, Illinois, to clarify the duties of the City Tree Board, and thank the Berwyn Tree Canopy Initiative for their years of advocacy and commitment to restoring our tree canopy in Berwyn.
Second.
Authorize the corporate authorities to fix the necessary signatures and place it on its way to passage.
Second.
Motion by Pavone, second by Carmichael to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 284 to clarify the duties of the City Tree Board, fix the necessary signatures, and place it on its way to passage. All those in favor on the call of the roll.
Caldwell.
Aye.
Bowman.
Aye.
Leisure.
Aye.
Fay.
Aye.
Pavone.
Before I vote, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the Berwyn Tree Canopy Initiative for their leadership on this amendment. It was my honor to collaborate with the BTCI organizers over the past several months, and I know they've been working on this for years, as well as giving some thanks to Alex McKinley, who helped put together the first draft. Thank you so much for your vision, your leadership. I also want to thank the mayor for his support on this effort. As a city, we have so much to do to restore our once thriving canopy, and as we continue to make a huge as we know, this will make a huge impact on the quality of life of our city. As was said earlier, more trees and tree planting oversight will make an impact on the temperature in our community, improve air quality, heal our local ecosystem, beautify our neighborhood, and even mitigate flooding issues. So I'm glad that we're taking the steps necessary to take this situation, this issue seriously, and I vote aye.
Aye.
Palachek. Brockman. Aye. Carmichael.
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. Item G1, please.
Item G1 is the handicap parking sign determination of 1320 East Avenue. Deny.
It would be my motion to concur with the clerk's office and deny the handicap parking sign at 1320 East Avenue.
Second.
Motion by Carmichael, seconded by Pavone to concur with the clerk's denial of 1320 East Avenue handicap spot. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item I1, please.
Item I1 is a communication from Alderman Bowman regarding licensing and taxation Aldermanic Committee meeting minutes of September 30th, 2025.
Move that the City Council formally receive and file the Licensing and Taxation Committee meeting minutes dated September 30th, 2025 as informational.
Second.
Motion by Bowman, second by Caldwell to consider the minutes as informational. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item I2, please.
Item I2 is a communication from Alderman Bowman of a summary of proposed amendments of video gaming licensing ordinance, referral to Committee of the Whole for review and discussion at next available date.
Move to refer the summary of proposed amendments to the video gaming licensing ordinance chapter 879B to the Committee of the Whole for review and discussion at the next available meeting date.
Second.
Motion by Bowman, second by Caldwell to refer the communication to the Committee of the Whole at the next available date. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item I3, please.
Item I3 is Fire and Police Commission lateral hire probationary police officer Samuel Dottoli, and it's informational.
I move that we accept this communication from the Berwyn Fire and Police Commission certifying Samuel Dottoli as the next eligible candidate on the eligible list with the effective start date of October 29, 2025.
Second. Motion by Leja, seconded by Palachek to accept the communication from the Berwyn Police and Fire Commission with the next available candidate from the lateral hire list starting 10/29/25, Samuel Dottoli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item J1, please.
Item J1 is City Attorney Bertuca's proposal of amendments to the Welcoming City Ordinance.
It'd be my motion to concur with City Attorney Bertuca's proposal of the amendments to the Welcome City Ordinance. Do I have to authorize that too?
I would, because we're going to have to put it together. and
Okay,
rescind.
just making sure, okay. Authorize the corporate authorities to affix the necessary signatures and place it on its way to passage.
Second.
Motion by Pavone, second by Palachek to concur with City Attorney Bertuca and amend the Berwyn's Welcoming City Ordinance, fix the necessary signatures, and place on its way to passage. All those in favor on the call of the roll.
Caldwell.
Aye.
Bowman.
Aye.
Leisure.
Aye.
Fay.
Aye.
Pabon.
Aye.
Palashek.
Aye.
Brockman.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor. And a report was handed by the attorney to all the council.
Yes, okay. Item J2, please.
Item J2 is City Attorney Bertuca's communication to authorize the settlement of 2025 L004192 in the amount of $200,000.
Be my motion to concur with City Attorney Bertuca and settle case 2025 L004192 in the amount of $200,000 based on authority and granted in executive session.
Second.
Motion by Fate, seconded by
Carmichael.
Carmichael, to concur with Attorney Bertuca and settle the caption case in the amount of $200,000 based on the authority granted in executive session. All those in favor, I'll call the roll.
Caldwell.
Aye.
Bowman.
Aye.
Leisure.
Aye.
Fate.
Aye.
Pabon.
Aye.
Palashek. Brockman.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. Item J3, please.
Item J3 is the City Attorney Bertuca's communication to authorize settlement 25 WC 002086 in the amount of $35,000.
Be my motion to concur with City Attorney Bertuca and settle case 25 WC 002086 in the amount of $35,000 based on authority in executive session.
Second.
Motion by Fate, seconded by Caldwell, to concur with City Attorney Bertuca and approve the workers' comp case as captioned in the amount of $35,000 based on the authority granted in executive session. All those in favor, on the call of the roll.
Caldwell.
Aye.
Bowman.
Aye.
Leisure.
Aye.
Fate.
Aye.
Pabon.
Aye.
Palashek.
Aye.
Brockman.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. Item J4, please.
Item J4 is a communication from City Attorney Bertuca to authorize the settlement of 23 WC 021988 in the amount of $21,657.03.
Be my motion to concur with City Attorney Bertuca and settle case 23 WC 021988 in the amount of $21,657.03 granted in executive session.
Second.
Motion by Fate, seconded by Bowman, to concur with City Attorney and settle the workers' comp case as captioned in the amount of $21,657.03 based on authority granted in executive session. All those in favor, on the call of the roll.
Caldwell.
Aye.
Bowman.
Aye.
Leisure.
Aye.
Fate.
Aye.
Pabon.
Aye.
Palashek. Brockman.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. Item J5, please.
Item J5 is a communication from Financial Director Martin, City Controller Daish, seeking authorization for initiation of the sealed request for proposals RFP process, including the publication of a notice requesting proposals for professional auditing services.
Be my motion to concur with Finance Director Martin and request a proposal for professional auditing services.
Second.
Motion by Fate, seconded by Carmichael, to concur with Finance Director Martin and City Controller Daish and allow to go out for RFP for auditing purposes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item J6, please.
Item J6 is a communication from Financial Director Martin and City Controller Daish. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of taxable tax anticipation warrants in anticipation of the collection of taxes levied for the year 2024 by the City Council of the City of Berwyn, Cook County, Illinois, for corporate purposes, directing the County Treasurer and ex officio County Collector of the County of Cook, Illinois, to deposit amounts collected from said taxes directly into a fund held by a tax escrow agent, and authorizing the sale of said warrants to the County of Cook, Illinois.
Be my motion to concur with Director Martin and authorize the tax anticipation warrants in the collection of taxes levied for the year 2024 by the City Council of Berwyn, Cook County, Illinois, corporate purposes, directing the County Treasurer, ex officio County Collector in the County of Cook, Illinois, deposit amounts collected from the said taxes directly into the fund held by state tax escrow agent, and authorizing the sale of said warrants to the County of Cook, Illinois.
Second.
Motion by Fate, second by Leisure, to adopt the ordinance authorizing the issuance of taxable tax anticipation warrants, affix the necessary signatures, and place on its way to passage. All those in favor, on the call of the roll.
Caldwell.
Aye.
Bowman.
Aye.
Leisure.
Aye.
Fate.
Aye.
Pabon.
Aye.
Palashek.
Aye.
Brockman.
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. The consent agenda.
Be my motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Faith, second by Bruckman to accept the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Aldermanic committee meetings, Alderman Caldwell,
Call the chair.
Alderman Bowman,
Call it third.
Alderman Leisure,
Call up the chair.
Alderman Faith.
We'll be having a finance committee tomorrow night at 6 PM and also one on November 4th at 6 PM.
Alderman Pavone,
Call the chair.
Alderman Palacha. Call the chair. Alderman Bruckman.
We'll be having a building and zoning committee, next Wednesday, the 5th at 6 p.m.
Alderman Carmichael.
Board meeting next Tuesday, November 4th at 8 PM at the Joe Velez Activity Center. Call the chair, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion adjourned by Carmichael, seconded by Caldwell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.